My name's Emily Carter. I'm 27 and I'm sitting in my Seattle apartment flipping through wedding magazines with my fiancé, Ryan. It's supposed to be this exciting time, planning our future, but sometimes my past sneaks up on me like an uninvited guest. Growing up, I didn't have what you'd call a typical family. My mom, Karen Miller, walked out when I was just a baby, leaving my dad, David, to pick up the pieces. She started a new life with a guy named Greg Thompson, had a whole new family, and basically erased me from it. Calling her mom feels wrong, like calling a stranger by a name that doesn't fit. She was never there, not really. Dad was my everything. He worked long hours at a factory in our small Oregon town, hands calloused from overtime, just to make sure I had clothes, food, and a roof over my head. He'd come home exhausted, but he'd still sit with me, helping with math homework or watching old superhero movies on our beat-up couch. Those are the memories I hold on to, the ones that keep him close, even now. Karen? She's a blank spot, a ghost who drifted in and out when it suited her. The court gave her visitation rights every other weekend, but she rarely showed. I'd sit by the living room window, 8 years old, clutching a stuffed bear Dad got me, thinking maybe this time she'd pull into the driveway. Most times, she didn't. She'd call last minute with some excuse, work, a trip, whatever, or just ghost completely. I stopped hoping after a while, but the sting never fully went away. Worse, I found out from my Uncle Tom that she'd quit jobs to dodge child support. Twice, she even landed in jail for it. Jail. Because she couldn't be bothered to help raise her own kid. I didn't hear it from her, of course. Karen never owned up to anything. Greg, her husband, was another story. He thought he could swoop in and play hero like he was saving me from something. I barely saw him growing up, maybe a handful of times, but he acted like we had some deep bond. The worst was when I was 10 at my school's Father's Day picnic. Dad couldn't make it. He was pulling a double shift to cover my school fees. I was fine with it. Dad always made time in other ways, like our Sunday pancake mornings. But Greg saw his chance. He showed up, all smiles, and walked over to me at the relay race. "Hey, Emily," he said, like we were buddies. "I can step in if you want. I'm here for you." I froze, my stomach twisting. Step in? For Dad? I wanted to scream, "You're not my father. I barely know you." Instead, I mumbled, "I'm okay, thanks," and walked away, my cheeks burning. Inside, I was furious. How dare he think he could just waltz in and replace Dad? I didn't tell Dad about it. He'd have felt guilty for missing the picnic, and I couldn't do that to him. But that moment stuck with me, a reminder that Greg and Karen didn't get it. They didn't get me. When I was 14, my world broke apart. Dad had always been my rock, steady, strong, the one who made everything okay. We were planning dinner that night, joking about whether to get pizza or try his infamous chili recipe. He was excited about me starting high school, teasing me about not getting lost in the halls. Then, out of nowhere, a heart attack took him. No warning, no chance to say goodbye. I got the call after school, my Uncle Tom's voice shaking on the other end. I don't remember much after that. Just the panic, the hospital, and the moment a doctor said he was gone. It felt like someone had ripped my heart out and left me to figure out how to breathe without it. The days that followed were a blur. The funeral came and went, neighbors bringing casseroles, everyone whispering how sorry they were. I just felt numb, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. Our little house in Oregon, the one Dad worked so hard to keep, had to be sold. I didn't get a say. I was just a kid. My uncles, Tom and Chris, stepped up without hesitation, offering me a home with them in Seattle. They were Dad's younger brothers, more like big brothers to me, always around with bad jokes and baseball games. I knew I'd be safe with them, but leaving that house, where Dad and I had pancake mornings and movie nights, felt like losing him all over again. Karen, my mom, didn't show up to the funeral. She sent a text to Tom saying she was too busy to bury the man who raised her daughter alone. I wasn't surprised, but it still cut deep. Greg, though, had the nerve to appear afterward. The funeral was over, and I was sitting with Tom and Chris at the reception, picking at a plate of food I couldn't stomach. Greg walked over, his face all fake concern, like he was auditioning for a role he didn't earn. I looked up, thinking, "What do you want now?" He sat down, uninvited, and said, "Emily, you can come live with Karen and me. We've got room and we want to be there for you." I stared at him, my blood boiling. Live with them? the people I'd seen maybe 5 times in my life. I wanted to laugh, scream, anything to make him see how ridiculous he sounded. Instead, I said, "No, I'm staying with Tom and Chris." My voice was flat, but inside I was shaking. He didn't drop it, though. He leaned in, all serious, saying, "Family's important, Emily. Karen and I want to help. Your dad, he didn't always make it easy for us to be close." That was it. I snapped. "Don't you dare talk about my dad," I said, louder than I meant. "He was there every day while Karen couldn't even show up for a weekend. You don't get to act like you're my family now." His face turned red, and he started sputtering about how I was just a kid who didn't understand. I cut him off. "I understand fine. Dad raised me without you, and I don't need your pity now." He stormed off, muttering something about me regretting it. I didn't care. I had Tom and Chris, the only family that mattered. Moving to Seattle with my uncles, Tom and Chris, saved me in ways I didn't fully grasp at 14. Grief was like a shadow, always there, heavy some days, lighter on others. Our old Oregon house was gone, sold to cover debts, and with it went the creaky porch where Dad and I used to watch summer storms. Seattle felt foreign at first, louder, busier, with rain that never seemed to stop. But Tom and Chris made it home. Their apartment smelled of coffee and takeout, and they didn't push me to get over Dad's death. Tom would leave comic books on my bed when I was too quiet. Chris taught me how to make his terrible spaghetti sauce. They let me be angry, sad, or just silent, and that freedom helped me stitch myself back together. School was my escape. I threw myself into classes, joined the debate team, anything to keep my mind busy. By college, I'd carved out a life I was proud of. A scholarship to the University of Washington, friends who became like family. Then I met Ryan. He was a barista at a coffee shop near campus, all easy smiles and bad puns. We clicked over late-night study sessions, and now, at 27, we're engaged, planning a wedding that feels like a promise to myself. I get to choose my future. Ryan knows about my past, listens when I need to vent, and never judges. With him, I feel safe. Like I can finally let my guard down. Karen and Greg, though, they stayed on the edges of my life, like a storm you know is coming, but hope passes by. I saw them maybe 3 times between 14 and 27. Awkward holiday drop-ins or random calls I kept short. Karen sent birthday cards a week late, if at all, and Greg's emails always had this fake cheer, like we were buddies. I didn't hate them. I just didn't need them. My uncles were my family. Ryan, my partner. Karen and Greg had their own kids, their own world. I wasn't part of it, and that was fine by me, but fine doesn't last forever. A couple of weeks ago, my grandma, Karen's mom, invited me to her birthday party at a fancy waterfront restaurant in Seattle. I almost said no, knowing Karen and Greg would be there, but Grandma's always been kind, sending me cookies at Christmas, calling to check in. I figured I'd go, say hi, and slip out early. Ryan had to work a late shift, so I'd be solo, which was fine. I'd gotten good at handling family stuff on my own. Still, the invite stirred up old memories, like kicking up dust in a room you thought you'd locked. I remembered a call from Greg when I was 16, right after I'd settled in with my uncles. I was doing homework when my phone buzzed, his name on the screen like a bad omen. "Emily," he said, voice all serious. "Karen's changed. She's ready to be your mom now. We want you in our lives." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. Ready now? After missing every school play, every birthday, every moment I'd needed her? "I don't need her, Greg," I said, my voice cold. "I needed her when I was a kid, and she wasn't there. Don't call again." I blocked his number that night, my hands shaking but my heart steady. It felt like drawing a line in the sand. This is my life, not yours. That memory stuck with me as I RSVP'd to Grandma's party. I told myself it'd be fine. Just cake, small talk, and a quick exit. But deep down, I knew Karen and Greg wouldn't let it be that simple. They never did. I walked into the waterfront restaurant for Grandma's birthday party, the Seattle skyline twinkling through the windows. The place smelled of grilled seafood and candle wax with chatter and clinking glasses filling the air. I'd planned to keep it simple, hug Grandma, eat some cake, and slip out before anything got messy. Karen and Greg were somewhere in the crowd, but I figured I could avoid them. I'd spent years perfecting that dance. Smile, nod, stay out of reach. My cousins waved me over, and for a while it felt normal. I laughed at old stories, toasted Grandma's health, and almost forgot the storm brewing across the room. Then Greg found me. I was by the dessert table, grabbing a slice of chocolate cake when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned, and there he was, his smile too wide, like a car salesman pitching a bad deal. My stomach sank. "Hey, Emily," he said, all chummy. "Good to see you." I forced a tight smile. "Hey, Greg." I wanted to keep it short, but I could already feel the air shifting, like the moment before a crash. He didn't waste time. "So I heard you're engaged," he said, still grinning. "Big news. Congrats." "Thanks," I said, my voice flat. I hoped he'd stop there, but Greg never knew when to quit. His smile faded a bit, and he lowered his voice like we were sharing a secret. "Karen and I were surprised we didn't get an invite to the engagement party. I mean, we're family, right? We figured we'd be included." My jaw clenched. Family? I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm for Grandma's sake. "It was just close family and friends," I said, keeping my tone even. "Small thing." He didn't buy it. "Come on, Emily," he said, stepping closer. "We are family. Karen and I. We've always seen you as part of our lives. It hurt, being left out. We care about you." That word, care, lit a fuse inside me. Care? Where was that care when I was a kid waiting for Karen to show up? I gripped my plate, my knuckles whitening. "Greg," I said, my voice low, "let's not pretend we're close. You know why you weren't invited." His face tightened, but he leaned in, undeterred. "Look, I've tried to be there for you. Karen wasn't perfect, but I've always thought of you as my daughter. I'd love to walk you down the aisle, if you'd let me." Time stopped. Walk me down the aisle? The role that belonged to Dad? The man who raised me, loved me, sacrificed everything? My hands shook, and I couldn't hold back anymore. "Are you kidding me?" I said, my voice rising. Heads turned, but I didn't care. "You think you can just step in for my dad? He's dead, Greg. He's the one who should be walking me down the aisle, not you. You've got no right." His face went red, but he tried to play it cool. "Emily, I'm sorry you feel that way. I've done my best. Your dad, he didn't always make it easy for us." That was the last straw. "Don't you dare talk about my dad," I snapped, stepping toward him. "He did everything for me while Karen ran off and you played house. You weren't there, not for 1 second. And now you want to act like you're better than him? Get over yourself." The room was dead silent now, forks frozen mid-bite, eyes locked on us. Greg opened his mouth, then closed it like a fish out of water. "You're being disrespectful," he finally muttered. "You need to appreciate the people who care about you." "Appreciate?" I laughed, bitter and loud. "Appreciate what? You and Karen ignoring me my whole life? Dad was the only one who cared, and you're nothing to me. Nothing." I set my plate down, turned, and walked out, the weight of every stare on my back. Whispers followed, but I didn't look back. I was done pretending. The night of Grandma's party, I got home to my Seattle apartment. My heart still racing from the showdown with Greg. My phone buzzed before I could even kick off my shoes. A text from my Aunt Susan. "Emily, you shouldn't have embarrassed Karen and Greg like that," it read. "Everyone's talking." I stared at the screen, half expecting an apology from her for their absence in my life. Nope, just more guilt. I didn't reply. I was done justifying myself. The next morning, Karen called. I almost ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. "Emily, we need to talk," she said, her voice stiff, like she was scolding a child. "I'm disappointed in you. Greg's only tried to help, and you humiliated him." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Help? Karen, he thinks marrying you makes him my dad. It doesn't. You two haven't helped me a day in my life." She sighed, annoyed, like I was the problem. "I'm your mother," she snapped. "You don't get to talk to me like that. I made mistakes, but I'm here now." "Here now?" I shot back. "Where were you when I was a kid? When Dad was working himself to death? You lost the right to call yourself my mother years ago." Silence hung heavy. Then she tried again, her voice sharp. "You'll regret cutting us out, Emily." I didn't flinch. "The only thing I regret is letting you think you had a place in my life. Don't call again." I hung up, blocked her number, and felt a weight lift off my chest. Greg didn't get the hint either. A week later, I was home alone, folding laundry when someone knocked. I opened the door, and there he was, standing on my doorstep like he belonged. "Emily, we need to talk," he said, all serious. "You've been ignoring us. That's not fair." My patience was gone. "Fair?" I said, crossing my arms. "You and Karen ignored me my whole life. You don't get to show up now and demand anything." He stepped forward, but I held my ground. "Your dad made things hard," he started, but I cut him off. "Don't. Dad was everything you'll never be. I don't need you, Greg. I never did." I slammed the door, my hands shaking but my heart steady. He knocked again, louder, but I ignored it until he gave up. That night, I told Ryan everything. He listened, his hand warm around mine, and said, "You don't owe them anything, Em. You've done enough." He was right. I didn't need Karen or Greg's approval, their pity, or their version of family. I had Ryan, Tom, and Chris, people who showed up always. I decided then. They're not coming to my wedding. Blocking their numbers for good felt like cutting a chain I'd dragged too long. For the first time, I could breathe, free to build a future with the family I chose, not the one I was born into.